Hi guys, and welcome back to Solo English TV. I hope that you're having a lovely day and that you're ready to learn some English with me. So today's class is going to revolve around a listening exercise, okay? A listening exercise. Now, what I'm going to do is read a few paragraphs of a very well-known book, and then after that I'm going to ask you some questions about what you heard. Okay, I'm going to ask you some questions about what you heard. So, what book will we read? Well, this is a really old book. Actually, became very, very famous when it was made into a movie. Okay, so the movie is The Wizard of Oz. The reason we're doing this is because this book is actually now in the public domain because it's quite an old story. The book is now in the public domain, so that means I can read it online without getting in any trouble, and also that means that the book is available for free on a free download. So what I will do is put a link in the description to Amazon, and if you have a Kindle device, or even I think if you have a PC, you can download it for free. So there are actually a large number of books that are currently in the public domain. That means they're quite old, and the author of the books has, I think it's if the author has died, they become in the public domain, so you can get these books for free. They're like classic books like The Wizard of Oz, A Christmas Carol, Charles Dickens, Moby Dick, Pinocchio, Dracula, Treasure Island, these kind of books. The Jungle Book, Frankenstein, okay, all of these books you can find on Amazon for free, which is great. If you have a Kindle device or an iPad, you can download them and read them at your leisure. So we're going to start with the first couple of pages of The Wizard of Oz, okay? And if you enjoy this little section of book, maybe you can go and download it and read it for yourself after the class. So chapter 1 is called The Cyclone, okay? Chapter 1, The Cyclone. And remember, I will be asking you 3 questions after this listening practice to see if you have been listening carefully and see how good your listening skills are. Okay, so here we go. Chapter 1, The Cyclone, which is like a tornado. Cyclone, like a tornado. Okay, here we go. Dorothy lived in the midst of the great Kansas prairies with Uncle Henry, who was a farmer, and Aunt Em, who was the farmer's wife. Their house was small, for the lumber to build it had to be carried by wagon many miles. There were 4 walls, a floor, and a roof, which made 1 room, and this room contained a rusty-looking cooking stove, a cupboard for the dishes, a table, 3 or 4 chairs, and the beds. Uncle Henry and Aunt Em had a big bed in one corner, and Dorothy a little bed in another corner. There was no garret at all, and no cellar, except a small hole dug in the ground, called a cyclone cellar, where the family could go in case of one of those great whirlwinds arose, mighty enough to crush any building in its path. It was reached by a trap door in the middle of the floor, from which a ladder led down into the small dark hole. When Dorothy stood in the doorway and looked around, she could see nothing but the great grey prairie on every side. Not a tree nor a house broke the broad sweep of flat country that reached to the edge of the sky in all directions. The sun had baked the ploughed land into a grey mass, with little cracks running through it. Even the grass was not green, for the sun had burnt the tops of the long blades until they were the same grey colour to be seen everywhere. Once the house had been painted, but the sun blistered the paint and the rains washed it away. And now the house was as dull and grey as everything else. So that was the first 2 pages of the story, The Wizard of Oz. I forgot to tell you the author actually. The author is L. Frank Baum. Okay, L. Frank Baum or Baum. Okay, anyway, I will put the name of the author in the description with more details of how you can find this book. So what I'm going to do now is ask you 3 questions, okay, about what you heard and see if you can answer these 3 questions. So maybe you wrote down some notes. Okay, so question number 1, I'd like you to tell me what are the names of the 3 characters that we are introduced to in this story. Okay, what are the names of the 3 characters we are introduced to in this story? Okay, so question number 2, in the house that they built, okay, in the house that they built, there are many items that were described in this book. Can you tell me one of the items that they have in their house? And the last question, question number 3, when they were describing where they lived, okay, the prairie, which is a vast flat farmland, okay, it's kind of like a big open plain which is grass and fields, okay, this is a prairie. So when they were describing the prairie, what colour did they describe the prairie to be? What colour did they describe the prairie to be? So I'm going to give you 10 seconds to answer those questions. Maybe you want to write the answers down, or if you've got them in your head, that's okay. I'm going to give you 10 seconds on the screen, but if you need longer than that, I suggest you pause the video and then come back when you're ready. All right, so 10 seconds starts now. So how did you do? Did you answer all 3 questions correctly? Well, I'll give you the answers now and we'll find out. So the first question we had was, what are the names of the 3 characters that we're introduced to in the story? Now, we have the main character whose name is Dorothy, we have Uncle Henry, and we have Aunt Em. Okay, Dorothy, Uncle Henry, and Aunt Em. Question number 2 was about what was inside their house. Okay, so when they built the house, there were a few things that were described in the book to be in the house. All right. Now, you could have chosen one of the following: a rusty looking cooking stove, a cupboard for the dishes, a table, 3 or 4 chairs, and the beds. So there were 5 things you could have had there for answer number 2. And the last one, when the prairie was being described, right? The prairie, the fields, the open space around their house, when it was being described, what colour was it described as? What colour was it described as? Well, the answer is grey. Grey, the colour grey. So how did you do? Did you get 3 out of 3 or not so many? All right, let me know in the comments below how you got on with today's quiz, and also if you liked the lesson, like this style of listening with a couple of questions. Did you like this style of class? And like the video if you did enjoy it, And don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you are new to the channel and you want to learn English every day. Okay, so that is it for today, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.